Well, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Women in Transition Podcast. I am Dr. Sasheen, your host. There we go. Your host of Women in Transition. And I thank you for joining me for our weekly, which is going to become a lot more than just once a week, but our weekly video. So, what are we talking about today? Listen, the world of 2026 has the 2026 has rolled in, and we need for it to settle down a little bit, right? We need for it to just settle down just a hair because it's getting a lot of folks' cortisol levels up. It's getting folks feeling really anxious, really uncertain, and the world again is kind of teetering on some knife edges that we've been teetering on for 365 days right now. But today I want to help you bring down your cortisol levels some. And I'm not claiming to be able to get rid of them completely. That is not at all. But I am going to help you refocus some of your energy. In fact, the short snippet that we put out this morning on the YouTube channel was all about, excuse me, yesterday morning, focusing on the first quarter of this year as opposed to trying to figure out the entire year. Because, one of the things that happens is we get very overwhelmed with too much information, and chaos only feeds that sense of paralysis that we start to feel. And so because we get paralyzed because there's so much information and we think we need to go in so many different directions, we don't actually do anything. So by chunking this year down, especially this year, I think this is going to be a really pivotal year. By chunking this down into quarters, maybe instead of trying to plan out the entire year up front, give yourself a couple more weeks to settle into the energy of 2026, and then maybe think about year-long planning. But if you're like me, you want to have some goals that you set down some things that you want to get accomplished, making sure that your big rocks are in place. Maybe that's what you're going to be working on for the next 3 months, is making sure that your new pillars of your life, what I call the magical seven, but the new pillars of your life are what you want them to be, and not things that are left over that you really don't need anymore. I said a lot. Let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Sasheen. I'm your host of Women in Transition. We have a YouTube channel. We have this podcast. If you're watching the podcast on YouTube, say hello, wave and drop a hello. If you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcast, come over to YouTube, subscribe, say hello, join the community. We have a tea time on Tuesdays where we take a tea break at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. We do that because for many people, Sunday night into Monday morning, you're already prepped for the work week. It's a lot going on. By the time Tuesday rolls around, you've gotten into the rhythm, but you could use a break. So Tuesday mornings at 11 a.m., we get together. I drink tea because I don't drink coffee. We grab our favorite libation and we just chat about whatever comes up. It's a community event. We just hang out. We have a good time for about 30, sometimes 45 minutes. But the goal is to carve a little piece in the chaos and to put the social back in social media. So hopefully you can join us on Tuesdays. And if you can't, there's always the replay that you can catch on the YouTube channel. All of my videos are on the YouTube channel. And then on Thursdays, which again, we're going to start putting more videos out. But on Thursdays, we drop a longer video about something I think is really important. My goal here on this channel as a woman in transition herself is to help Gen X women navigate through this period of their lives so that they live the next best possible chapter coming up. Because, the middle years, the muddy middle, can be tough. And there are a lot of questions that we have to answer. And sometimes the blueprints ain't blueprinting. So I'm here to help you get out of your head, get off the cliff, make a plan, execute, and go. That is what we're here to do. So, what are we talking about today? Well, I started off this with, 2026, then came in 2026 and feeling a little bit like 2025 didn't get the memo that she was supposed to, get on up out of here. Which is why I said you might want to take some time and just do nothing for the next few weeks while 2026 gets herself settled down. Okay. But in the meantime, while 2026 is getting the lay of the land and figuring out how to maneuver itself, I do think there's a good conversation that we should have at the top of the year when a lot of people are looking down into the year thinking, what does the year hold for me? What is it that I think that I might want to see happen? Where do I want to land, so to speak? And though I don't want you to make any really big plans yet, remember something this quarter that you feel like would make a good impact for you for the rest of the year. I think is about all I want people to do. Sorry, my phone went off. People to do so that they don't get overwhelmed. But one of the big areas I think as Gen X women that we really need to talk about is retirement and whether or not you should think about retiring early. I know I'm going to start to hear the waves coming at me. I can't. What do you mean? What? If you are like me, you have been listening to the rumbles about Social Security for years. It's insolvent, it's going to go bankrupt, it's going to go away, yada, 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 yada. Well, some of those I mean, let's not talk about how the government has taken out of and not paid back what they need to make this Social Security thing work. But regardless, we have a lot of people in the United States of America. We have roughly 330 million people, I think is it might be 333. We're over 300 million people in this country. Not all of those people are retirement age, obviously, but they're going to retire at some point. And so the Social Security system, if that's going to be your retirement plan, is that you're going to work until you can draw Social Security and then retire. Beloveds, let me hold your hand with a napkin between us as I say this. It is not going to be enough for you to actually have a good quality of life. It's going to be enough for you to squeak by, but there is a reason that you see a lot of people in places like greeting at Walmart and fast food who are older who you think should be retired. They probably are retired, but they still have to work to supplement Social Security because it's not enough for them to actually live comfortably or even moderately. And so this is the thing about the Gen X generation, um, especially Black women. We are overly educated. We have tons of skills, and we've been really good at planning our lives. So we've got some savings, and we've got some other things. We're not waiting on Social Security to come along at the end of 60. Let me see, 60. Well, right now it's going to be 67. It used to be 65, but now it's 67 because they're incrementally raising it up. It's very quiet. It's very quiet, right? Nobody's making big fanfare about it per se. Um, though there was a big fanfare about raising it to 72, I believe. The reality is that it's already started to go up. And so if you're born in certain years, already your Social Security retirement age where you can pull full Social Security is creeping up. You might want to pay attention to that. But like I was saying, a lot of people don't realize how much their Social Security may not be able to support their lives. And the bigger issue that I want to address and tackle today is even if they raise the retirement age to where you can draw Social Security, do you want to work until you're 72? Gen X, I'm talking to you. And, ex millennials, I'm talking to you. And Gen Z, I'm talking to you. Think about when you started working. I put a post out on Threads. If you don't know, you can follow me on Threads, Dr. Sasheen. I talk about everything. So if you are um, if you are expecting one thing, you might be surprised. I am not apolitical, and I am very much pro Gen X, pro Black woman, pro soft life, but also I'm kind of snarky. Anyway, I put a post out on Threads, and I just said, "Dear Gen X, it is okay that we are tired because most of us have been working since we were 13, since we were babies, 12, 11, 13, sometimes younger if you were babysitting because you had younger siblings. I told the story on our tea time on Tuesday how I've been babysitting. I babysit my cousins. I wasn't much older than them, but I was the older cousin, and there were a whole bunch of us running around. So sometimes I was being babysat by when I was younger by a 10-year-old, and then sometimes I was babysitting as a 10-year-old. But when you start to think about the number of years that you have actually been working on the books and off the books, because I count those years where we were babysitting and nobody was like clocking a W-2 for us as still working, right? The number of years that we have been working already, and the Gen X generation, we are in our late 40s, early 50s, right at the cusp of the early 60s. We've already been working, some of us, for 50 years. Of course you're tired. And I wanted to put that message out there because I think so often we don't really understand the toll that this life has taken on us because we've just been doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it and not really thinking about it. And I love the fact that we can have the conversations about what it really means to be where we are in 2025. And for Gen X, what it really means is you've been in the workforce in some capacity for 40 years. 50 years. And the reality is that if you choose to stay in the workforce full time doing what you're doing now, completely full time working, not semi retired, we'll talk about that in a minute. But if you continue to stay in the workforce with the hopes of getting to Social Security retirement age of 67, well, my friends, for some of us, that is another almost 20 years, 17 years, 16 years, right? That is a long time to assume that the tired that you're feeling now, the exhaustion that you're feeling now is gonna go away. That is why an article that I put out, a post that I posted of an article, point out that the burnout amongst in corporate America is so high, especially amongst Black women, because again, we're the most educated group of women. We've been working for so long, and we have worked twice as hard to try to get where we are. And so the burnout is real. It's not just Black women, but I am a Black woman and I'm always going to speak up for Black women. And so what I want us to talk about is if they are serious. So let me back up for a second. So the retirement age for this year, if you were raised in, excuse me, if you were born in 1960, you can retire at 67. Congratulations, that's the new retirement age for you. And this is the thing that they're doing. They're staggering it so that certain years can retire later and later and later. So the proposal is to go up now. So if you're born in 1960, you can retire at 67. Congratulations, 1960 or later. But the proposal is to move the goalposts a little bit and say, but maybe if you're born in, say, 1965, you can't retire until you're 69. So the stair step towards 70, 72 is coming. It is absolutely in the cards. You can see the progression to not being able to retire until you're maybe 70, 75. How long do you give to working and just being tired? Well, here's my solution and what I wanted to talk to you about today. I know I've spent 12 minutes setting this whole thing up. I want you to think about retiring early, retiring sooner, and making a way for your life to look different. Now, I understand financial constraints. So we'll talk about that a little bit. I am not a financial expert. I am not a financial planner. Do not take financial advice from people who do not have a financial background. And I don't mean people on the internet who say, oh, you should go do this with your money. And they have never ever taken any kind of certifications. They don't really know how, I mean, they don't really know how things work because they've never actually worked in the field of financial assets. Don't take those people. Take the word of people who actually can show you the portfolio and how to invest, who have a track record under them of investing successfully in ways that allowed them to, right? And that doesn't mean that people out on the internet can't be experts. I firmly believe that experts in certain fields don't have to go to school. As I didn't say school. What I said was, don't take financial advice from people who cannot show you their bona fides, who cannot show you, hey, look, here's the track record of what I've done financially so that you can see I'm not just blowing smoke up your skirt to get you to invest in my course or my program. So, whew, got that off my chest. Not a financial expert. Don't take financial advice from me, but there are people out there that you can take financial advice from, or at least that you can begin to get to learn some basic information about maybe how to live life in early retirement and what to do with your money so that you can make it work. So, why do I think we should be looking at making an exit plan in 2026 to get out of the working system? Well, the first one is the Social Security issue. I don't know about you, but I'm in my early 50s and I do not intend to have to work until another 20 something years for the possibility of money from Social Security retirement that I'm still going to have to supplement my income for because it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough for me to actually live well or even comfortably or even modestly in retirement. Think about the logic here that says you should have to work, 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 work. But when you get to the end, when you get to retirement Social Security that you've paid into, it may not be enough money for you to actually live. So you might still have to work. I don't know about y'all, but that makes me mad. That really does make me mad. So the first reason why you need to think about retiring early and to start making your exit plan in this quarter, start thinking about it, is because of Social Security. The second reason that you need to start thinking about retiring early and to make an exit plan is our health. Think about, okay, so I was not surprised at the amount of feedback I got on the um Dear Gen X, it's okay. You're tired because you've been working since you're 11, 12, and 13. I'm not surprised how many people resonated with that. But what I don't always understand, or sometimes it's hard to get people to wrap their mind around, is that not only have we been working, but we are conditioning our bodies to just push through so much stress all the time that now we're seeing, as we are still working and we've got another maybe 20, 25 years of working, our bodies are like, listen, I don't know about you, but not only am I tired, I have chronic fatigue, I have chronic fatigue, I have lack of energy to do anything. I have high blood pressure. I have heart murmurs. I have flutters. And we're not even going to talk about the addition of perimenopause into this equation of being exhausted, right? Because that adds a whole nother layer on top of what we're doing health wise in our Gen X years, because that's where all of us, some of us started perimenopause in our 30s. Some of us didn't start until our 40s. Some of us are late bloomers in our 50s. But on top of being exhausted, we have perimenopausal symptoms that are wiping some of us out. That is not a recipe for a healthy existence. The constant need to be working, coupled with the body going through natural changes that are, for some of us, debilitating. For some women, going through the change is absolutely debilitating. None of us get through it unscathed, but some, it's harder on some than others, and it lasts a long time. So you'll be working, and then potentially you could be perimenopausal for a decade. At least that's what the research and the science says, is that women go into menopause and they can stay there anywhere from 5 to 7 to 10 years. It depends on the woman, right? But think about the far end of that. Working in your 40s, going through perimenopause, exhausted, chronically exhausted, never really being clear, right? Because the work exhausts you, and the stress exhausts you and wears on the body, and then the health, the naturally occurring issue of perimenopause affects you and wears on the body. One of the things that I love to do is I follow several channels, several content creators who live in other countries, and I listen to especially older women who, this would be them. They would have gone through perimenopause or in perimenopause now, living in other countries. And I want to tell you that they are all also going through perimenopause, but their experience of it is very different, because when you can know that you can rest when your body says, not today, sweetheart. Not today. Today, you're going to need to just lay in bed or put on some very comfortable PJs or pajama or sweats or loungers, and drink some hot tea, and perhaps by noon you'll be able to put a coherent thought together to get something done. And that's okay, because you're not racing off to a job. You're not racing off every single moment of your day trying to get enough of whatever it is that you're trying to get enough of to survive. When I watch those women talk about their perimenopausal struggles, we all have the same, very similar struggles, not the same, but very similar struggles, but their environment is much more supportive of that struggle because they have space, right? They have space in their environment to be not good that day, to be not good that day. Um, so our health is a very big reason to think about moving your body into early retirement, or even, for Gen X, this would be early retirement. It would definitely not be full retirement. But I am asking you to think about what early retirement really could look like for you. And if the Social Security age going up is not enough, if your health issues is not enough, if the fact that you could potentially be working until you're 70 is not enough, I've given you three reasons so far that you want to think about early retirement. Um, the fourth reason that I want you to think about early retirement is that I want you to look at the state of where you live and ask yourself, do I intend to do this version of life for another 5 years? Let's put 20 years on the shelf over here for a minute. For another 5 years, at least for another three. When I talk about early retirement, I am thinking about your life looking very different than it does right now. And for a lot of people, that's very hard to think about because life is lifing, but also because we have a vision in our head that our standard of living can't look this good anyplace else. And so I have to work this hard to make this standard of living, because if I do this anyplace else, if I try to change this in any way, I'm not gonna, I don't I'm working to get this. I'm working to get this. So why can't I have it? You can have it. And if you intend to continue to maintain and support it, you're going to pay more and more and more for it in this country anyway. You're going to pay more and more and more and more for it. And you're going to continue to break yourself down trying to keep up with the rising cost of inflation, the rising cost of goods and services. I mean, let me tell you something. I need to replace some vitamins because we just ran out. And the company that I normally got the vitamins from, I went from paying $16 a bottle to 32. 32. We're not buying those vitamins. Not all of us, right? And I know that that is a direct response to the political climate of the country that I currently live in. And I can see, and you can too, some of that handwriting on the wall, that the life that you have worked so painstakingly hard to put together, and your labor of love, perhaps, definitely your physical labor is going to cost you more and more and more and more and more to maintain, even if that even is possible, if you stay where you are planted. People like to say the grass is not greener on the other side. Baby, y'all are standing on astroturf. Of course the grass is greener because it might be real grass over there. That is how I've been categorizing or explaining my feelings for a long time now. The grass may, in fact, be greener on the other side because you are standing on astroturf, which isn't even real grass. And that, for me, is saying, listen, the idea of the American dream that it has been sold was sold to my parents, was sold to your parents, to the grandparents, well, maybe not your parents, to grandparents and great grandparents. That dream died a long time ago. And a lot of people, especially, are struggling to keep that dream alive at the expense of ourself, our spirits, our bodies, our souls. And so in 2026, I really want you to think about what it might look like to scale back and retire. To scale back and retire. There are a couple of channels I want to talk to you about, and a couple of different ways I want you to start thinking about what it might look like to retire. Number one, do you have to live where you live? If you could live someplace else where the cost of living wasn't so high, but the quality of living was just fine, would you take the chance? Would you take the leap? Would you make a plan to make a move that could save you 15 years? That could save you 15 years. If you retired early, didn't say cash out all of your 401ks, didn't say cash out your pension, didn't say cash out everything and move, but could you retire early taking one of your buckets? Because I know women, I know Black women especially, we got the buckets going on, right? And live in a place where that dollar stretched a bit further. Is it possible to begin thinking about life in ways that said, I don't necessarily need it to look just like this box that I've been existing in for my entire life? I would be really content and even happier if it looked like this, and I can get this in other places. So, for example, I follow a couple of really great channels, of women who did it, who chucked it all and said, we're out of here. like women with children, women without children, women who worked in corporate America, women who were lawyers, women who were doctors, women who were teachers. I follow women who decided to go to chuck it all and go teach in a foreign country so they could get themselves moving, only to realize I can do this life in a really good version of my life here in this country. And so there they are. So if you've never had a chance to watch, I recommend Picky Girl Travels the World. Uh, Adelia talks about being a picky girl, being a picky girl who traveled the world, and part of her story is going to teach in other countries. I think she started out in, in Honduras, and how that led her. She now lives in Mexico City, right? Rashida Doe, excuse me, Rashida Dow. She's got two channels. Rashida Dow of Exodus Summit, also someone who left corporate America and moved to Mexico City, bopped around, decided where she wanted to be, ended up in Mexico City, has a wonderful standard of life. One of these women left to go work. One of these women retired and lives off her retirement, but does still freelance and other things. So there are ways to make that work in places that will not drain you, in places that will not debilitate you. Um, I'm going to link to all of these that I mentioned, but I wanted to at least give a plug to some of these great channels that are out there. Amoya Shante, she's in Merida, Mexico, and she left with children. So I got your buckets for you. Single women, uh, who decided to move, ones with children, ones who went to with work in mind, one who retired early. There's so much content out there of women doing the very thing that I want you to think about doing in 2026, and that is liberating yourself from the idea that Social Security is going to be able to help you live, because it's not. I've been hearing this since I was a kid. I'm in my early 50s. That Social Security is going to be there when you need it, that it's going to be that you're going to be able to live decently on it, because you're not, and that you have to stay in a system that is preparing to make you work longer, longer for the not promise of Social Security, because it still may not be there when you need it. Or you can look at your buckets that you have now and think, how can I make these buckets stretch? How can I make these buckets work for me now and 20 years from now, right? Like now and continue to work for me. So, three channels that I'm going to link: Rashida Doe. Sorry, she has two channels, and I keep her. One of her channels is Rashida Doe, where she talks about, you guessed it, money. But her name is Rashida Dow, and she's one of the founders of Exodus Summit. I'm going to link to her. Amoya Shante, I'm going to link to her. She left the United States with three babies. Not babies, but they were little though, with three kids. She has since after traveling the world, she was a single mom traveling the world. She has since settled in Merida, Mexico. She is married now with kids. She just moved into a beautiful home. I'm going to link to her, and I'm going to link to Picky Girl Travels the World, because she went for a job. She was a teacher. So I'm not even talking about all the women having corporate jobs. She was a teacher, and she decided to take that early retirement, and she went and taught in another country, and then she realized what she could do, and she traveled the world. Y'all, I have so many examples, which is why I'm so adamant that I don't want us to suffer needlessly. Now, if you're someone who's like, Dr. Sashin, I can't do that. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't go. I can't move myself. I have aging parents. I have aging parents. I have kids. I have kids. I can't, I love my job, or I've invested 30 years in this job. Well, the pension may or may not be there when you need it, but that's fine. If that is what you're saying, then this video is not for you, and I'm not offended if you turn it off right now. But if you leave it on and you think to yourself, I need to hear more. What else can you tell me? There is another set of creators that I follow who follow what's called FIRE, which is financial independence, retire early. Okay. Now, Gen X women, we're in an interesting phase where we've been in the workforce for a really long time, and we could be in the workforce for a long time to come. Okay. We might have been already put in 30 years. We could put in another 20. Whew. Okay. Financial independence, retire early, is this concept that it's this movement of people, and the priority is saving and investing so that they can retire before 60. I don't know if you're there. I don't know if this is something that you can contemplate, but I want to bring it up because, again, I think if we see examples of it being done, then we're more likely to believe we can do it as well. So, in the fire movement, and I'm not part of the fire movement, though I am looking at it very, very seriously, um, because I do have aging parents and I do have a child that's just I have a teenager now. And I recognize that all of us deserve, not just me, but my family deserves a chance to live and breathe with some space to breathe and not work until we're falling down. I don't want to work and work and work and work, retire, just to have to turn around and get a part-time job because I don't make enough in retirement. Or, and here's the uglier part of that, never actually be able to retire, but no one will hire you into a good job because of your age. And now you're working more because you have to work part-time jobs to string it together enough of a living and that's your 70s, your 80s, your 90s. No, no, no ma'ams. No ma'ams. So in the FIRE movement, I'm going to recommend if you want to know more about the movement of financial freedom, retire early. There's Our Rich Journey. Aman and Rich. Uh, sorry, I I get all the names confused in my head. Okay, so Our Rich Journey, Daily Investing, and Our Black Utopia are two channels that I follow, and they talk about FIRE. They talk about how they did it. One is a couple. Both of them are couples. And one has kids. Our Rich Journey Daily Investing, they moved to Portugal. They have detailed their journey of fire and how they made their move and when they started. And same with Our Black Utopia. They are an older couple. And they're talking about how they made their moves and what they chose to do. And so I really, really encourage you to think about, right, for this quarter, remember, not for the whole year yet, but to think about what would it look like if the goal at the end of this year was to be able to retire early, or if the goal this year was to start the plan that allowed you to retire in 2 years or 5 years. Because even if it's 5 years out and you know that in 5 years you want to be able to retire and live comfortably for you, whatever that means for you, what would it look like to get there? What is it you need? Do you know your numbers? This is one of the things I've learned and I really appreciate in doing the research um for this particular video, but also because I'm thinking about this is what is the number? What is the amount of money every month and every year that you actually think that you're going to need? Right? So if you looked at your lifestyle right now and you want to maintain it, how much do you need it to be able to pull in retirement to maintain this lifestyle that you currently have? I was watching a video of a woman and a young child, because I have a younger child, who settled in, who just moved and is now in, I believe it's either Malaysia or the Philippines. And one of the things that she talked about was transition for the family, the adjustment period, but also the fact that she could live really comfortably. Her home was about $1,200 a month USD. It's a very nice house. Wasn't over the top expensive, wasn't cheap, was right, was moderately priced and was very comfortable. And listening to her talk about how knowing that her costs of living were lower, and so she doesn't have to work so hard to bring in so much because the standard of living that she wanted to maintain was more possible in another country. And so that's the final thing that I want to advise you, and that is in another country your American dream might actually be more possible, the dream of the house and the land and the whatnot. And I know someone's gonna jump into my comments. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not gonna answer you. I'm not saying go and try to colonize another country. We've seen how colonization works. It sucks. Please don't do it to other people. What I'm talking about is taking your skills, your your passions, your joy, your peace, your work ethic, moving it to a place where you can provide into a community and be a part of the community, a good part of the community, right? One that spends its dollars and honors the place that you live, but also that embraces you and allows you a high standard of living and a high quality of living that you can't have where you are. That's what I'm talking about. If you're talking about going someplace and taking over, stay home. They don't need you over there. But I want you to think about what it might look like to find your slice of retirement life in another country. And there are three countries I want you to think about. Number one is Panama. And I say this as someone who's looking at Panama herself. And I say this, number one, because if you are a pensioner, a retiree, they have an amazing program for retirees, for pensioners. It's called the Pensionado. And if you can prove that you make at least $1,000 a month, you can get temporary citizenship, a temporary residency in a whole nother country. And you don't even have to live there full time if you don't want to. Right? Those kinds of things are out there, and I really want you to think about them seriously. Maybe in Panama, if you live in the United States, Panama is just to our south. And I know there are things happening to our south because somebody, I'm not going to get political on this video, but I would remind you that just as North America is huge, so is Central and South America. Anyway, so um our neighbors to the immediate south, Mexico, has amazing places to visit, to stay and live if you do it the right way. Please don't go sneaking across the border. Don't overstay your visas and things like that. That's not what I'm talking about. But go explore the possibilities of Mexico. This is in the keeping it right here around the United States, right? Right here, right in your bubble. Mexico, Panama, Costa Rica, Colombia, four potential places where you might find out that, oh my gosh, all the things that I thought that I couldn't live without are right here. They're literally right here, and my cost of living is lower, and my cortisol is down, and my serotonin is up, and I'm sleeping better, and I'm just on vacation. What would it feel like if I lived here? What would it feel like to be in a place where your serotonin levels is what we're talking about, and not your cortisol levels. All right. I've said a lot and I've said it for a while. I like to, you know me, I like to get in here and give you a good time because I'm not going to be here for a long time. But I want to end by saying this. I'm going to link to all of the places that I mentioned in this video. So, um, our rich journey, daily investing, our Black utopia, Picky Girl Travels the World, Rashida Dow, Exodus Summit, and there was another one that I wanted. Oh, and Amoya Shante. I'm gonna link to all of those people so that you have some resources out on YouTube, and I'll make sure I link so that you can link out to their video out on YouTube for the various things that I talked about. But most importantly, I want you to do two things as I wrap up this video. Number one, if this whole video stressed you out, I'm sorry. Like, I really am. I'm not trying to stress you out. I'm actually trying to get you to calm down because chaos from the outside world is kind of the point. It's kind of the point to derail you, okay? And the more chaos is created, the less we can think our way through the problems that need to be solved. That's number one. So I'm sorry if I have increased your anxiety. You see the ticker, the anxiety solution ebook on the screen. I wrote that to help you navigate these moments. And so I highly recommend that you go pick up a copy. But number two, I think that 2027 is, excuse me, 2026, 2027 are going to be banner years. 2025 was a banner year. And I think that we're going to ramp up in some ways. And I do not want you to think, oh, I can ride this out. Because let us be very real. We are at a pivotal point in history. Things that were normal in 2024 are no longer normal. You have to decide how you're going to live in the new normal, the new world normal, not just the United States normal, but the entire world is impacted by what is happening here. Where do you want to be? Where do you want to land? How do you want to live? And can you get there faster than you've been thinking, than you've been contemplating? I think you can. I think we can. So we're going to map this journey together. You're going to make our plans. We're going to work our plans, and we're going to decide what's next, because what's next is the question all of us need to answer. and we need to answer it now. Dr. Sasheen, thank you so much for tuning in, for listening. Please hit like, subscribe, and share the video. If you see us on YouTube, drop me a hello. I love hearing from you in the community. If you're listening to me on any of the places that you listen to podcasts, Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Spreaker, wherever you listen to podcasts, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for listening. Please join the membership. Excuse me, not the membership yet. Please join the community so that you can get notifications of when we got new videos coming out. And I post daily for daily inspiration. Make sure that you're subscribed. Hit like on hit the little bell so you get all the notifications, because I try to drop 2 to 3 to 5 to 6 times a day, because I want you to stay focused and I want to bring down that cortisol level, because around here we practice rule number 1, and that is our peace is non-negotiable. That's it for now. Take care. Bye.